my name is Lisa. I work for the North Tampa branch of the Hillsborough County Public Library. Today, we're going to be making a paper craft using cereal boxes or any other kind of light cardboard like that to create a hedgehog. We'll have a few simple supplies and tools that we'll go over here. I'll have the list posted up, but you will be using a cereal box, just cut apart like this so it's flat and you have the inside to work with. You'll need a ruler, 2 pencils. I know that sounds funny, but you'll see why here in a little bit. Scissors. Any kind of scissors that's easy for you to use will be fine for this. Some markers or crayons, colored pencils, whatever you have on hand, just for decorating later. If you have it, a hole punch will come in very handy for this. However, if you don't have one at home, I will show you how you can do it without using a hole punch. And last, you will need something to attach the feet of your hedgehog to the body. And there are a couple of ways that we can do it. If you have a little brass envelope close like this, these will work great. However, I know most people don't have one of these laying around. If you don't, you can do the same thing using a button, like the kind that comes extra with a shirt that might have been attached to a new button down that you've bought, that you have laying around. Any kind of button's going to work fine for this. If you have one that's going to color-wise match up with what you're doing, that's probably going to look the best, but really any kind of button's fine. And you'll also need a twist tie, just a regular wire style twist tie like this. Any color is fine. To start, I'm going to take my piece of cardboard, which is part of a cereal box that I've cut open, and I'm going to cut off all the excess sides. So anything that's outside of this folded area, we're going to trim off real quick. Next, we're going to use one of these smaller strips of cardboard to make a tool that's going to help us draw out this hedgehog. The tool, when it's finished, will act a lot like a compass that you might have used in math class. Now, I don't have a compass here at home, and you might not either, so it's going to be just as easy for us to make a tool that will help us do this from scratch. And it's really simple. You'll take your scrap of paper here, or your scrap of cardboard from the edge of the cereal box that you cut off. We're going to lay our ruler down on top of it. I'll show it right side up here. And all we're going to do is use our pencil to mark off 1-inch segments on this. So we only need 4, so I'm going to mark off 1, 2, 3, and 4 inches. Once you've marked those spots on your little cardboard strip here, we're going to use a hole punch to make holes where those 1-inch marks are. Now, it doesn't have to be super exact. We're not too worried about this being an exact measurement, but just rough. If you don't have a hole punch, there are a couple ways that you can do this to put a hole in there. One way is if you have a push pin, you can very carefully, don't have your finger under it, but very carefully push the pin through at that mark and kind of wiggle it to make that hole a little bit bigger. If you don't have a push pin, it's going to be trickier to do this with a pencil, so you might need to use a pen. But again, don't have your finger underneath of it, but carefully use your pencil to push through and wiggle it a little bit until you have a hole in your cardboard here. Now that you've got your holes punched in there, we're just going to cut off the extra part here because that'll get that out of our way. We don't need that little extra bit there. Okay, so we have our tool set up. Now we're ready to start drawing out our hedgehogs. Let's get started. We have our tool here that we've just made and our 2 pencils. Now you're going to see why we need the 2 pencils. I'm going to place my tool at the very bottom left-hand corner of my sheet of cardboard here. And I'm going to put my pencil in to a hole that's on the farthest side here. And I'm going to put my other pencil into the spot that's on the farthest side here. We're going to hold it at the very bottom edge of the cardboard, and I'm going to use the pencil that's in my right hand to hold this all in place. So you're going to put the pencil through to hold it down, and you'll use your left hand to start moving your pencil along in an arc. You'll move it all the way around. I'm going to move it here so you can see so that my hand's not hiding it. So while you're holding the one side steady, the right side steady, you're moving the pencil on the left to make that arc. There we go. Now we have our half circle drawn on here. This is going to shape the body of our hedgehog. Make this a little bit darker so that we can make sure you can see it. Now that we have the body, the basic outline of the body drawn, we're going to draw a little bit more, and we have to draw out the little legs that are going to wheel around here. Now for this one, we're going to need a full circle. We're going to want to draw that as far away from the body as we can. So we're going to start in the upper right hand corner, and we're going to hold it there with our right hand pencil, and then we're going to use the left hand pencil to make into the the second from the right spot. That's going to be our middle of this circle. So once you've found that spot with your left hand pencil, you're just going to hold it in place with the left hand, and you're going to start drawing that circle. And if you find that you're running off the page here like I just did, easy peasy, we're just going to move it in a little bit farther on your cardboard. Let's try that again. There we go, that's better. Now we're fully on the page. And we can hold it still with our left hand while we go round and round with our right hand to make our leg wheel. To make it easier to actually cut the feet into it, we're going to draw a smaller circle inside of our big circle. So that's why we have this hole here, the one that's closest to the middle. So we're going to leave our left hand pencil in that spot there, move the right hand pencil one hole farther in towards the middle, and we're going to zip around here and make a smaller circle inside of our bigger circle. So we have a smaller one. There we go. So this is our basic 2 shapes that we're working with. We have our half circle here, and we have our smaller circles on the right here. Let's get started drawing in the rest of our hedgehog shape. We'll want to put a head on this little fella. So starting right about here, we're going to just draw out very roughly a shape here. This will be his head, and I'm going to draw on an extra big nose. Now we're going to start drawing in the little spiky tops of our hedgehog. So to do that, we're just going to go around the outside of our half circle, and we're just going to draw little spiky triangles. They don't have to be all the same size, they don't have to be all the exact same shape. Just zigzag it all the way around the body. There we go. That's our basic hedgehog spikes that we're putting on there. Now to make the feet over here, this is a little bit trickier, but I'm going to show you how we're going to do it easy peasy. We're going to very roughly divide this inner circle in half and then half again. That's just going to give you a basic idea of where we're going to draw our triangles here. Now to draw these triangles, you're going to draw from the outside in towards the middle so that the point of your triangle here comes to the inside of the circle. So we've drawn one here. We're going to draw one at this point here. We'll draw one at the bottom and one at the side here. Now we're going to divide it up a little bit further, and we'll put 4 more triangles on here. So we've got our northeast, we've got our southeast, our northwest, and our southwest triangles. So we have all those marked out, and now we can start cutting out our little basic shapes here. Using your scissors, I find it helpful to cut this in half at this point. And we're going to cut the wheel part away from the body of the hedgehog. That's just going to make it a little bit easier to handle it as we cut it out. And now we're going to cut out our wheelie legs. Now that we have our shapes cut out, we can start decorating. This is the fun part of it. So I am going to use just 2 or 3 different colors. I'm going to make the bottom side, the legs and the belly area and the head area of the hedgehog a little bit lighter color. And then the upper part, the main part of the body, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And then I'll use a little bit of a pink on the very nose of our little hedgehog or little hedge piggy. And I'll use black for his little eyes. So let's get coloring. There we go. Now that we've got this fella all colored and cut out, it's time to start assembling. So remember how we said we needed to get some buttons or some pins to keep this together? We are going to attach the wheeled legs behind the hedgehog. So to do that, we're going to poke a hole right in the middle of the wheelie legs. You can either use your push pin to do this. Just remember to not have your fingers behind it. Or if you have a hole punch that can reach all the way to the middle, you can use that. Mine doesn't reach, so I'm going to use my pencil here to poke through that hole, being very careful not to have my finger behind it. And once you have your hole started, you can use your the little twist tie that you've got to poke through there. And if it doesn't want to go just yet, you'll just use your pin and wiggle it a little bit until that hole is a little bit bigger. If you have an adult there to help you, you can take your scissors and use your scissors to make that hole a little bit bigger. Just be very, very careful to protect your work surface that you're working on and make sure that you have an adult giving you a hand to do this. There. Once you've got your hole started in there and you're able to fit your twist tie through, we're going to figure out where to place the hole on our hedgehog. So first, you'll hold it up like this and figure out where you want your feet to go. So I think I want my feet to be right about there. I'm going to hold it with my hands, hold the legs to the main body of the hedgehog. I'm going to turn it over and I'll be able to mark the spot where that hole needs to go. So I'm just going to put my pencil through, wiggle it really good a few times so that I've marked it on the back side of my cardboard. So now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'll use my push pin or my pencil to poke that hole through and wiggle it around until it's big enough to fit my twist tie. Not quite big enough yet, so we'll make it a little bit bigger. So just using that push pin, wiggling it around, or using your pencil or your pen, wiggle it through like that. And you turn it over and see how you're doing on that side. Just wiggle it through until that hole is big enough. So now it's plenty big. We can fit our twist tie through easily, but not so big that it's gonna slip through when we're done. So now we need to put something on here to hold it in place. You can either use one of these little brass envelope closures, and to use those, you just push it through the front of your hedgehog like that, turn it over, and then push it through the wheeled leg parts, and then you just spread those two little feet apart on the brass pin, and you're fully assembled just like that. If you don't have one of these, we can do the same exact thing using a spare button that came with a shirt that I got recently. So I don't think I'm going to lose the buttons on that shirt, so I'm pretty okay using it for this. Now all you're going to do is through the front of the button, put one end of your twist tie, oops, and then through one of the other buttonholes, put the other end of your twist tie, and then pull those two ends through until you've got them looped all the way through, about evenly, but it doesn't have to be exact. And it'll look like this. And then you'll take those two ends and you'll put it through the front of the hedgehog, and then you'll put it through the little feet of your hedgehog. Pull that down like that. Now that you've got those connected, you can take that twist tie and just spread it out a little bit. Give it a couple of twists. Just to hold it on the back like that. Now you've got your hedgehog fully assembled, and it can go on little adventures. Here we go. I hope you had fun making your hedgehogs, and I would love to see pictures of how yours turned out. please be sure to leave us a comment on this video. Let us know what you thought. Let us know how yours turned out, and we will see you back at the library soon.